Hello and welcome to the Daylight Midnight Show. First things first, we're going to set the timer for the show. Rule number one in the house rules, no episode of this show will be more than 10 minutes in length. And I've been complaining every week, I, for some reason, picked this bomb timer that would go off on my computer. So I set it for 10 minutes, and at the end of that 10 minutes, the bomb noise goes off. And every week it startled me, almost giving me a heart attack, and every week I've complained about it. I don't know why I haven't thought of this before, but my phone has a countdown timer on it, and it does a nice jingly noise. So after 10 minutes now, we're going to get a nice jingly noise. The downside of that is that I have to leave my phone on, because being not technologically minded, I haven't worked out how to turn that part of the phone off and still have the timer go off. So the ringer is still on, and I am expecting a couple of phone calls today. But rule number 4 is no editing, no re-recording. So if I do take a phone call during the show, I'm just going to have to take it and it's going to have to be part of the show. Having said that, hopefully we can just get through this and nothing will happen. So that's that done. Second things, we need to activate the Gregometer. If you haven't seen it before, this is a very technical device. This is a scientific instrument designed by experts in Egypt. And what this does is this tests the atmosphere around me. It scans my entire body. It delves within the deepest recesses of my mind. And it comes up with one word that sums up the way I'm thinking and feeling today to give you a clue about what kind of show we're going to have. And it beams that onto a specially made display case behind me. So I can tell you that today the Gregometer thinks the one word that sums me up is tardy. Tardy being an American word that has become sort of common usage in English, and it means behind schedule or late. So it's confession time. I'm recording this on Saturday. It will be ready to view from midnight Saturday into Sunday. You'll be watching it whenever you're watching it. But you might remember right at the start of all this, I made a commitment, a dedication, a promise that I was going to film every Friday, come what may, and it would be available to view from midnight Friday into Saturday. It's taken 4 weeks for that to go wrong. Now, I do have an excuse, but you don't need to hear it. 2020, if it's taught us nothing else, should have taught us this. Don't make plans. If you make plans, life is going to come along, rip the rug out from under your feet, teabag you, laugh in your face, and you're going to have to build and start again. So, for 1 week only, this is the day late midnight show, and hopefully next week we can get back to recording on Fridays. So that's that set up. Third thing is feedback. You've noticed every week I've had little notes of feedback from myself that I've put in the brown folder. I've decided feedback should have its own little section, so it's going to come now every week. This is my own feedback, having watched the show back from last week, which for a start I hate doing because I hate looking at myself. You're welcome to send me your own feedback and your own suggestions. I want this show to evolve and grow, and I want you to be as much a part of it as I am. So you need to send me your ideas about what we can do to fill our 10 minutes every week. I've got to be honest though, if you send me a message on Facebook or you leave a comment on YouTube, the chances are I'm not going to look at it. If you send me an email, then I guarantee you I will read it. So I know it's hard work for you modern people to have to click on an email and then send it, but it's hard work for me with my mind to actually read comments. So if you send me an email, I'll meet you halfway and I'll promise to read it. So if I remember, and if I can get the technology done right, at the end of this show, I will flash up an email address where you can contact me. And from next week, we can start getting your feedback involved as well. So these are the things I noted down after watching last week's show. Number 1, I've put casual dress equals casual attitude. The dress down approach last week, I think didn't work. It made me sloppier, slightly less professional, so I'm going to try and stick to smart clothing from now on. Point number 2, I've put speed of speech. I did that gabbling thing again last week where I'm not relaxed. I think I was just trying to get too much into the show. I was worried about the bomb timer going off and causing me stress. So I rushed through it and we ended up under time. So I'm going to try and slow things down from now on. Point number 3, I've put consistency of camera. Every week you watch this, you might notice that the camera's in a slightly different position. I've looked back and I think episode 3 probably had the best setup. So I'm going to try and do what the professionals do. TV studios, theatres, they put little tape marks on the floor, so when they reset up for that show, they always put the camera back in the same position. So I'm going to do that here. I might staple the blooming thing to the floor, I might paint it, it's my carpet, who cares if it's got a bit of white paint on it, but I'm going to try and keep things looking the same every week. And finally, number 4, my last point, I put cut the clutter. Having the Gregometer display right next to me last week was nice, but it kind of got in the way. I was trying to do too much. I had a mug, I had the computer, and I was trying to fit my face in among it all. So I'm just going to try and keep it all nice and sparse, like the contents of my head. Not much going on at all. So that's my feedback. Please send me your own as the weeks go on. So with the feedback done, it's time for something that I think needs its own little jingle, which I'll work on for next week. A weekly look inside Greg's brown folder. Which doesn't sound as dodgy as it sounds, believe me. So every week I'm going to carry this around, and as I think of things that I want to talk about, I'm just going to write down a couple of notes in here, and then we can go through it together every Friday. So this is what I've written down over the course of the last week. I've put about lack of summer colds. I might look into this more for next week. I don't know if it's the lack of contact because of social distancing. I don't know if it's the increased hand hygiene. I don't know anyone that's had a cold in the last 3 months. And normally you get that horrible 2-week summer cold that comes round about this time of year. I don't know anybody that's had that yet, so I think that's an interesting thing. Just a thought I've written down here. Why is it I can walk around a beach in trunks and no one bats an eyelid, but if I walk around the village in my pants, I get arrested? And my final thing for this week, we have some cat food at the moment called As Good As It Looks. I don't think it's very good marketing because it looks like diarrhea. That's all we have in the brown folder for this week. There'll be more next week, I am sure. Now last week we chose the official Premier League team for next season for the Daylight Midnight show, and it turned out to be Brighton and Hove Albion. While I was doing that, on the same website, I noticed there was another interesting quiz, which was called Which Cycle Am I? This sounds really, really bizarre, but I think answering these questions, like I did last week, does help give you a little bit of an insight into the way my mind works, the kind of person I am. And it can only help strengthen our relationship, I feel. So I decided I'm going to do this week. This dates back from National Bike Week, which apparently was back in June. I didn't do it then, I'm going to do it now. So it says, are you as brave as a BMX, as rapid as a road racer, or as mighty as a mountain bike? Find out which cycle you are in our fun quiz. So, question number 1 says, you have found a time machine. How do you use it? Visit the past, check out the future, or I won't use it at all. I'm rocking 2020. I don't think anyone is rocking 2020, least of all me. I would visit the past. I'm not really interested in what's coming because it's going to come and reach us eventually. I'd love to go back and see the 1950s. I'd love to see Victorian London. I would also like to go back to sort of Elizabethan times, that Henry VIII into the Elizabethan times. The only thing about that, of course, is there were things like the plague around, so you were always in danger of becoming ill every time you left the house. Thank goodness we don't have to worry about that these days. So I'm going to put visit the past. Question 2. You are out for dinner with your family. What would you order? The same thing you always get, the same as someone else. I'm not fussy. What is today's special? Or bring me the weirdest thing on the menu. I'm not a great one for eating out, to be honest. I don't like to just keep eating the same thing. I can't understand that thing where people just order the same as someone else. So I'm going to put, I'm not fussy, what is today's special, because I really respect chefs and I would like to have what they think is their best meal of the day. This is a bizarre question. Choose one of these cute dogs sitting on a chair. I don't know how to describe this to you. We've got what looks like a pug in a deck chair. We've got a Yorkshire Terrier on an armchair. I like big dogs that I can cuddle, not little ones I can put in my handbag, so I'm going to go for what looks like a Great Dane laying on a sofa. Next question. When it comes to sport, I am super competitive. I love being part of a team. I like the exercise, but I don't care about winning. I do as little as possible. Very similar to a question we had last week, this one. I like the exercise, don't care about winning. In your group of mates, are you the funny one, the trendsetter, the decision maker, the competitive one, or the one who gives great advice? I don't think I'm any of them. I don't have a group of mates to start with. That's why I'm sitting in this cupboard recording this for YouTube. I'm going to go with the funny one because if I can make one person laugh every day, I feel like I've achieved something. I now have to pick a bag. There's a nice looking purple backpack. There's a brown paper bag, there's a suitcase, and there's a Union Jack handbag. I like the functionality of a brown paper bag and the anonymity of it if you want to hide anything dodgy, but if it rains it's useless, so I'm going to go with the backpack. And I think this is the final question. Choose your ultimate holiday. Camping in the countryside, skiing in the mountains, safari in the jungle, shopping in New York, relaxing on a desert island. Of those, I would go camping in the countryside, but I do that quite a lot anyway. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to put relaxing on a desert island. And the answer is, of all the bikes, I am a tandem. When it comes to being a brilliant friend, you definitely win top prize. You offer support and reassurance, and you always stick by your friends. You don't mind where you hang out or what you do, as long as you're with the people you love. That's the 10 minutes up, so we'll just finish this off. I'm a tandem. The only thing I can think of with tandems is the fact that two people can ride it at the same time. I'm going to leave that one there. Have a great 7 days. I'll see you next week.